It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Very happy Tuesday to everybody out there. Coming up tomorrow, it is Win Ticket Wednesday. Win big every Wednesday on the KSL Sports Zone with Win Ticket Wednesday. Tomorrow, win tickets to see Cyndi Lauper, August 14th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Don't miss Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun farewell tour. Get tickets now at livenation.com or listen to the KSL Sports Zone all day tomorrow for your chance to win. It is time for the top 3 stories at KSL Sports, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your loved ones with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. 2 locations up and down the Wasatch Front. You can also find them online, jbrooksjewelers.com. Christian, where we start?
Number 1, BYU Basketball gets their first commitment for 2026, and it's a local kid.
Coming from Timpview High School, Dean Rueckert is joining BYU, coming up for the class of 2026. He's the first recruit, I believe, in that class, which is, I mean, it's still a ways away, but certainly what has changed now in college athletics. Seems like the announcements for when these kids are committing seems to be getting a little bit later. But he's the highest-rated public high school player in the state. Of course, now with the influx of academies all over the country, including our state of Utah, there are a few players that are recruited more highly or ranked more highly. But this is kind of your more traditional recruit and a face that I think will look familiar at BYU. They have made a killing on a lot of these big wing sharpshooters who step in and have made BYU good for a very long time. The Hawses and et cetera. We've seen these players have success with the Cougars, and now for Kevin Young, it's about going and continuing to fill out the roster with A, other top 100 recruits, and then B, potentially top 15 recruits. And I think the big question is going to be, you know, as we've seen, what does BYU have, 2, 3 top 30 players on their roster from last year's recruiting class? Can they get that again year after year? I don't expect them to get the number 1 player in the country most years. That was unique with A.J. DiBonza playing academy high school basketball here and how well that came together. While there will be good players in our local academies, I don't expect it to be the number 1 player most years. I think the highest rated player this year is in the 30s or 40s. That's at one of our academies for 2026, I should say. So that was a unique circumstance. That doesn't mean I think BYU will stop chasing some of those top players and probably still landing some of those top players, but I'm not sure I expect every year the top recruit in the country to have BYU in their top 5 when they're committing.
But BYU should be in conversation for the best player in the state of Utah every year.
No question about it. In fact, they should probably be the front runner, you know, with their success, with what Kevin Young has proven he's been able to do and the amount of success he's had in just 1 season at BYU. And the way players seem to be responding to how he is coaching the team and the investment in the team around him, absolutely, those are the players that should be looking at BYU first and foremost as a top priority. Junior County is the top player. He plays at Wasatch Academy right now for the 2026 class from the state, not in the country overall, but he's a top 30 recruit. He's number 27, according to 24/7 Sports. So we will see where those players go and how some of those guys wind up. You know, kind of lost in the A.J. DiBonza hype, and rightfully so, was even 2 years ago, Colin Murray Boyles was playing at one of our local high schools. Colin Murray Boyles was just drafted number 9 overall by the Toronto Raptors, and I don't think really considered our local schools. Like, some of these guys come in, I don't want to say as mercenaries, but almost like recruiting in college. They come and get recruited and play at an academy in high school and then move around a little bit, and they'll end up playing at a couple of different schools. Again, why I think the A.J. DiBonza situation is maybe a little bit more unique, coming here and committing to stay here, than what might feel like a seismic shift in high school basketball recruiting. I'm just not sure that's what we're going to see every year. I would love to see it. I'd love to have A.J. DiBonza and players of his ilk in Utah throughout the next decade and longer until we continue to change how this high school recruiting and college basketball is going to look. But it's cool that we got it when we did. And I think that should be celebrated as a victory, even if things do change. All right, what's next?
Number 2, De'Aaron Fox gets a max contract extension with the Spurs. And Ben, we may have a new old maid in the NBA.
represented by Adele, represented by Clutch, De'Aaron Fox gets the 4-year, $230 million contract extension.
Hello.
So there is a chance this is the new Old Maid. If you remember, the last Old Maid is no longer an Old Maid because the Suns, who technically locked up a permanent Old Maid by having, not permanent, but for the next 4 years because they waived and stretched Bradley Beal, have a $20-ish million salary slot that's just dead money on their books for the next 4 years, which in the NFL, you can get away with dead money a little bit better. We've seen teams navigate it well. Young quarterback can help fix it. Denver might be the best example of this right now. In the NBA, losing out on $20 million as a salary slot that you just cannot fill is really difficult, and the Suns are going to deal with that now with Bradley Beal going forward. The Milwaukee Bucks have to deal with it with Damian Lillard. The Spurs signing De'Aaron Fox to a max contract on the heels of landing the number 2 overall pick and drafting the point guard of the future. Now, I know there's some talk that Dylan Harper can play off the ball. He is not a very good shooter. When you're not a very good shooter, you need to play on the ball, which is why De'Aaron Fox plays on the ball, because he's not a very good shooter either. He's much more dynamic with the ball in his hands and getting downhill. And he's a one-time All-Star. And the year he made the All-Star team, he was terrific, 25 points per game, 6 assists. He did shoot it a little better the year after, which might have been actually his best season in 2023-2024 when he averaged 26 points and 5.5 assists and 2 steals, led the league in steals. Did shoot 37% from 3, but that's where he's topped out. And then over the last year since, I mean, what he did last season with Sacramento and San Antonio, combined to shoot 31% from the three-point line. He's not a shooter. In a league that requires most players to shoot, if not all players to shoot, especially point guards have to be able to shoot. And if you play next to Victor Wembanyama, you just want as much space around him as possible. And yes, Victor's ability to spread the floor will help alleviate some of the pressure for some of those guys to shoot. But if you want to win a title, I think you need fewer flawed players. And I worry that De'Aaron Fox is a fatally flawed player because of his shooting ability. And they just locked him up with a ton of money to play over their number 2 overall pick.
And that's not even to mention Steph Castle.
Right.
Who also is not a great shooter.
And just won Rookie of the Year.
Right. So you've got 3 guys that are non-shooters essentially vying for one spot because it's hard to play both of them. And before De'Aaron Fox got this deal, there were conversations about maybe San Antonio having to trade him just because he doesn't fit, and now they're locked in.
And as we've seen locally, once you sign that deal, it changes your value. Now, De'Aaron Fox, this is his 3rd contract. And technically it was for Lowry Markkanen as well. But, Lowry is now making $40 million a year, and you really start to go over his numbers with a fine-tooth comb, much more so than you were. And look, to be fair, even before he signed this $40 million contract, Lowry was playing better than he did last year after he signed the contract. De'Aaron Fox, if he's not the number 1 guy, which obviously he's not going to be in San Antonio, and there's a chance he's not even the number 2 guy, if a Steph Castle or if a Devin Vassell or if a Dylan Harper breaks out and jumps him, then he's the number 3 guy making $40 million a year, and that becomes, or more than that, $230 over 4 years is $50+ million a year, $56 million a year, something like that. That gets really difficult to trade, and what you don't want to do is find yourself in a spot where you have, a la the Old Maid, a player who you cannot really offload for assets or equal value in return.
You'll have to attach picks to get off of
or whatever,
or
or young players to get worse when you have Victor Wembanyama. So I understand that they had made the trade for De'Aaron Fox. They didn't pay a lot for him. They didn't give up a lot to get him. And so once you had him, you said, well, okay, we'll move forward with it. But your situation changed. You did get dealt a phenomenal hand with Dylan Harper, the number 2 overall pick, and I get that you want to win. You still had De'Aaron Fox under contract this year. You could have just played it out with him and seen how it went. And he wanted to go to San Antonio. And I had somebody very high up in basketball tell me that De'Aaron Fox had been placed in San Antonio by Clutch and Adele years ago.
Hello.
That this deal was done, and the people at Clutch were bragging about this deal being done last year, a year before the deal was even made. So I get that you had traded for him. It doesn't mean you have to pay him just because you've already sunk that cost. Hence this sunk cost fallacy. I worry a little bit with that with De'Aaron Fox, and if that changes the future of San Antonio, which we've already seen 2 injuries for Victor Wembanyama. I know one of them was blood clots, and that's not necessarily something you were worried about recurring, but I worry about his health and how quickly you can get this thing up and running. So we will see with San Antonio. I do not love the De'Aaron Fox move at all, and I wonder if in a couple of years we're talking about this being one of the bigger mistakes they've made recently. Then you mix in the loss of Greg Popovich. I think there might be a lot of turnover here. I think there might be a lot more plates spinning that Popovich was good at keeping spinning that new coaches might allow to crash, and that will change how we view the Spurs and maybe even how Victor Wembanyama looks at the Spurs versus this untouchable franchise that they have been.
Yeah, when you have a player of Wembanyama's caliber, similar to what we saw with the Nuggets, you have a lot more leeway when it comes to making decisions, but really making bad decisions can come back and haunt you pretty quickly.
Yes. Michael Porter Jr. was good enough for a little bit to win a championship. And you win a championship, great. You don't ever have to say anything else about it. That's as good as it gets. But after that, the money gets tight really quickly. And the money will start to get tight in San Antonio as well. And De'Aaron Fox just accelerates that. All right, what's next?
Number 3, news coming out yesterday, Tyler Huntley getting another shot with the Browns, the 5th quarterback in that room.
So Joe Flacco's the assumed starter. The backups are not good enough right now. And so what's the 5-man room?
So it's Joe Flacco.
Now you have Snoop.
Kenny Pickett,
right. Tiny Hands Pickett.
Dylan Gabriel, and Shador. And everybody else except for Joe has been dealing with injuries. So that's why they say they went and got Tyler Huntley.
But really the fear is that, the fear is that Kenny Pickett's injuries might be prohibitive. And that for sure Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders are just not good enough right now to start a game.
Also, Joe Flacco's 40.
Which is totally fair. Well, yes, Joe Flacco's a million years old, and he's had some fun showings here and there as this, kind of late in his career, old veteran who still knows how to play and has said he doesn't want to mentor the young people at all. So he just wants to get out there and play. He doesn't want to just go and sit and hold a clipboard. So he's going to be competitive to try and win that starting job. And then, all the reports coming out of Cleveland are that Dylan Gabriel's better than Shador, and Dylan Gabriel's not very good. So they're not close to being able to be on the field right now. And if Kenny Pickett's hurt and can't be the backup, then that's why you have to go and get a player like Tyler Huntley, who did play for them last year for a couple of games.
He was there in the preseason, and they tried to trade him, but nobody wanted him, so they just cut him.
Right.
But it's a good opportunity, again, to play some preseason games, get some more tape out, and hopefully raise your trade value. We saw that lead to a chance with Miami last year.
Right. So we'll see. Congratulations to Tyler Huntley. Honestly, I did not expect him to have this, even this level of NFL career. That he has been kind of, for the last 3 or 4 years, the go-to free agent quarterback to just sign in a pinch and he'll come in. And he's not going to win you a lot of games, but he can hold down the fort for a little bit. And that's more than I expected out of Tyler Huntley, especially early in his career at Utah. He certainly got better as he got older. So congratulations to him, and hopefully he makes the roster, or like you said, shows well enough that he can step in and get another job somewhere else. Really bad that Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders aren't even close, because they're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks. They're not going to carry 5 quarterbacks. They may not carry 3 quarterbacks. They may have to because they drafted these guys. But I don't think they're carrying 4. So 3 is already a stretch. A lot of teams like to have that 3rd quarterback on their practice squad. So Shador just might be out of the league before it even starts. We'll be curious to watch how that works coming up over the next couple of weeks. Hey, speaking of watching how it works, Hard Knocks tonight. I'm excited. Episode 1 with the Buffalo Bills.
I cleared my schedule.
Okay. You get your TiVo set up. You're ready to watch. Is the wife working tonight?
She works the day. She'll be home by tonight, and she's actually a Bills fan because her parents are from upstate New York. So,
so you guys are going to watch it as a couple.
We're dialed in.
Oh, good for you guys. Yeah, I'll have to. I've got HBO, so I can watch it on demand whenever I feel like watching it. So I'm excited for it, though. Kind of wish we were watching Cleveland, because I'd love to see this nightmare behind the scenes, especially now that it has a local time. All right, we'll look more at some BYU and Utah football coming up next. Stick around. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.